A very good morning to all of you. Now today we will talk about the main phases of photosynthesis. So what are the two main phases of photosynthesis? The first one is light dependent phase. Another one is light independent phase. Okay. The first one is light dependent phase. Another one is light independent phase. Now why do we say the first phase is light dependent phase? Because it totally depends on the light. Whenever there will be sunlight, only then it will occur, otherwise it will not occur. So what happens, this phase, it happens in it happens in two ways or two phases, we can say. First of all, A phase happens, then B phase happens. Okay, and then here I will be showing that what happens in the B phase, and then we will talk about the light independent phase, and then end results of photosynthesis, that what are the products that occurs after, or what are the raw products that are being made after the photosynthesis, what happens to them. So let us talk about the first phase, that is light dependent phase. And in this phase, what is the first step that happens? That is activation of chlorophyll. First of all, the chlorophyll, it absorbs 4 photons of light. Photons means it is a very simple unit of light energy. So it absorbs light energy to get activated. Okay, in the presence of light energy, it gets activated and it starts its further process. And where does it present? Where does the chlorophyll present? It presents in the thylakoids. So this process happens in the thylakoids of the chloroplast, because in the walls of the thylakoids the chlorophyll is present. So that's all about this process, that how does it activate? It activates by absorbing the light energy. Now next is splitting of water. Now because of this light energy, the water, it gets splits into these things. It gets splits into hydrogen ions, okay, and molecular oxygen, right? What did I say? I said that splitting of water, the second step is splitting of water. Whatever the energy is absorbed by the chlorophyll, because of that light energy, that light energy helps in splitting of water. So here I have written the equation 2H2O by absorbing the energy of 4 photons. That means by absorbing the light energy, it has converted into H ions, hydrogen ions, plus molecular oxygen, plus it also acquires, or it also loses the electrons. Okay, now what happens with these all things which have been manufactured, which has been lost by it? Now the hydrogen ion is taken up by NADP. What is this NADP? This is nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. What is the full form of this? Nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. So it will take up the hydrogen ion to form NADPH, okay, in the presence of an enzyme. Now what is this NADPH? This is nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate hydrogen. Since it will accept this hydrogen ion, okay, which is being formed in this splitting of the water, it will be taken up by NADP. Now next, ADP. Now this is ADP that will be formed in this process. Though this ADP, it will take up phosphate group. It will take up the electrons. Okay, it will take up the electrons, and by taking the electrons, it will add one more phosphate group, and in order to form ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, it is adenosine phosphate, it is adenosine diphosphate, 2. Okay, 2 molecules of phosphates, adenosine diphosphate, and by taking up the electrons, it will become ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Now this process of splitting of water, it happens under the light energy. It happens after taking up the light energy. So we call this process as photolysis process. Why do we call it photolysis process? Because photo means light, in the presence of light. Lysis means breaking down of something. So this breaking up of that water molecule, this breaking up of water molecule into hydrogen ion plus molecular oxygen is known as photolysis process. So when there is a splitting of water, what are the things that are being formed? The hydrogen ion is formed, the molecular oxygen is formed, and also it gives away the electrons. Alright. So electron is taken up by NADP in order to form NADPH. Okay, sorry, hydrogen ion, not please notice, not electrons. Hydrogen ion is taken by NADP, hydrogen ion, okay, to form NADPH. And this ADP, these electrons will be taken up by this ADP in order to form ATP. Okay, by taking up the electrons, it add up one more phosphate group, which, okay, because of that one more phosphate groups, it forms ATP, which is the energy currency of the plant. Okay, which is the energy currency of the plant cell. So ADP will change into adenosine triphosphate by adding up one more phosphate group. And this process where one phosphate group will be added up in ADP, it is known as phosphorylation. We call it phosphorylation since one more phosphate is added into ADP. And we also call it photophosphorylation because again the same explanation, photo means light. Since this process also occurs in the presence of light, so that's why we call it photophosphorylation. Photo means light and phosphorylation means adding up of phosphate, one more phosphate group into adenosine diphosphate to change it into adenosine triphosphate. So this is the first that is light dependent phase of the photosynthesis. Now second is light independent phase. In this light independent phase, why we are writing light independent? That doesn't mean that it will happen in the dark. No, it will happen in the daytime, but it does not require light. Okay, that's why we say that it is light independent phase. That does not mean, again I'm repeating, that does not mean that it will take place in dark. Okay, it will take place in light, but it does not require light like the first phase. Okay, like the first phase which was requiring light, and the first phase has been activated by absorbing the photons of the light, but the second phase is totally independent of light. So here what will happen, there will be a formation of glucose. Okay, and also there will be a conversion of glucose into starch, and sometimes glucose changes into cane sugar also, like sugar cane. Sometimes it changes into oil, fats, minerals, and so on. So this happens in this independent phase, and this conversion of glucose is very quick, very rapid. Okay, that we will talk when I will be telling you about this end result. Now, as I have told you that these are the end results: glucose, water, oxygen. We know that these are the things which are made up in the process of photosynthesis. As we have done the equation and we have learned that what are the end products that that are formed after the process of photosynthesis. Those are glucose, water, and oxygen. Now, what happens to the glucose? Now, this glucose, a part of the glucose, okay, it is changed into starch. Okay, I'm leaving this point here because at the end I will be explaining this point, that what happens to this starch, how it is utilized by the plant. Right now I'm just telling you that this glucose is changed into starch. Now a few amount of the glucose changes into what do we say, cane sugar. A little amount of it is changed into sucrose, and little amount of glucose sometimes it changes into fats, okay, proteins, okay, minerals. And this is the way when we eat the products of plant, we get these all things from them. Since glucose is the product which is used by the plant, and it is not fully used by the plant, whatever is needed by the plant, it is used by the plant, and rest of the things they get converted into either starch or sometimes sucrose, the type of sugar, that it is present in as I have talked about the cane sugar, like in sugar cane. So that means in sugar cane the glucose has been converted into cane sugar. Okay, then sometimes it gets changes into fats. Okay, sometimes it get changes into protein, sometimes it get changes into carbohydrate like in wheat plant. Okay, so this is what we eat and we get from the plant. Now, what happens to the water? This water which is used, as I've told you earlier also, that only 2% of water is used in the process of photosynthesis. This water can be changed again. Okay, it can be used again in the chain reaction of the photosynthesis. While this water is present in the plant, again the same water can be used. Lot of water is being transpired during the process of photosynthesis, but this water which is being formed, it can be again used for the plant, by the plant, for the process of photosynthesis. It can again be used by the plant for the process of photosynthesis. Now what happens to this oxygen? We know that the oxygen which is produced, it is in molecular form, and this oxygen is not at all a waste product, because it is required by all living beings, and it is the only process, photosynthesis is the only process which helps in forming oxygen. And we all require oxygen, because we all know all living things require oxygen, because we cannot survive without oxygen. Even plant also use oxygen for the respiration. Okay, so little amount of oxygen is used by the plant, rest of the oxygen is diffused out of the plant in the atmosphere for all the living thing, for their respiration. Now, as I was talking about the glucose, as I've told you that much amount of the glucose, now this glucose, it has to reach the different parts. How it actually, I want to tell you that how this glucose is utilized by the plant. I have told you that glucose is formed, but how it is utilized by the plant. So this glucose, it cannot, as it is formed very rapidly, but it cannot reach to the plants rapidly. So what happens to this glucose? It gets converted into starch and stored in the leaf. Okay, it gets converted into the starch and stored in the leaf, and during the night time, okay, it changes into a soluble sugar again. That starch gets converted into a soluble sugar again, and it is transported into the solution. Okay, and it is transported into a solution, so that from the leaves, by the help of the veins of the leaves, as I have already told you, these are the veins of the leaves. Okay, so by the help of the veins of the leaf, from the leaf, this solution, okay, it goes to the phloem of the stem, and from the phloem of the stem, it is being transported to all parts of the plant. So this movement of the food from the leaf towards the downward to all parts of the plant is known as translocation. Okay, so this is known as translocation of food, translocation. So this is how this glucose is reached to different parts of a plant. Now sometimes few parts of it, like after using the amount of glucose whatever is needed by them, again this glucose can be reconverted back into starch. So they do not waste their glucose, they do not use, actually we do waste a lot of food. Okay, we take a lot of food in our plates and we eat them, we throw them, but look at the plants, how beautifully they store the extra amount of food they store for again reutilization of the same product, for the reutilization of the glucose. Whatever is needed, they take that, and rest is stored in the form of starch, or in the form of, as I've told you, cane sugar, oil, fats or minerals, etc. So this is all about the end result of photosynthesis, that what happens to all the things that are formed after the photosynthesis. I hope that up to here it must be clear that what are the, so we talked about the photosynthesis, the main phases, what happens in 2 phases. Okay, then we talked about the end result of photosynthesis. Next is, what are the adaptations in the leaf to perform photosynthesis? Like a leaf has to perform photosynthesis. So how it is adapted? What are the things that are present in the leaves that make it more suitable to perform photosynthesis? So first is large surface area. You know that leaf has a large surface area. Okay, so it is more suitable to capture the light energy. And now here a question arises that there are few leaves which are very narrow, or they may be rolled up, or maybe they turned into spine. So we have learned why does it happen to the leaf? Because it has to reduce the transpiration. Those leaves are growing in such an area where there is a scarcity of water. So in order to what we can say, in order to reduce the transpiration, they narrower their surface area. Okay, because they are already growing in such areas where there is a scarcity of water. So but in a sense, majority of the leaves, they have larger surface area so that they can perform photosynthesis. Next is leaf arrangement. Most of the leaf, they are on the right angle of the light. Okay, they are towards the right angle of the light so that directly the sunlight can fall on them. Okay, so that directly the sunlight can fall on them and they can perform photosynthesis efficiently. Next is cuticle and upper epidermis. The cuticle is the waxy layer that I have already explained, and upper epidermis, the leaf, the structure of the leaf, upper epidermis, they are transparent. If they will be transparent, then easily they will be able, that in the upper dermis of the mesophyll cells. Okay, so upper dermis and cuticle, if they are transparent, so they can easily, the light can easily fall on the mesophyll cells, because after upper epidermis we have mesophyll cells under them. So if they will be transparent, light energy can easily be transferred to the mesophyll cells. Next is numerous stomata. So of course, the leaves, they have numerous stomata so that they can do the gaseous exchange efficiently. Thinness of the leaves. Leaves are more thin. The same reason, so that they can capture the sunlight nicely and easily. Chloroplast. Most of the chloroplasts, they are on the upper layer. Same reason why they are on the upper layer of the leaf, because if they will be on the upper layer of the leaf, they will be easily, the sunlight will be easily accessible to them. Okay, they will be in direct contact of the sunlight, and they can be easily activated in order to proceed with the process of photosynthesis. Next is extensive vein system. They have extensive vein system. This one you must have seen that lot of veins are there. Why? Because so that whatever things should be transported from the leaf or to the leaf, it should be easy. Okay, so what are the things that should be transported, like water, minerals that are required by the leaf for the photosynthesis, that should be easily transported to the leaf with the help of these veins. And whatever the things that is being produced after the process of photosynthesis, they can also be transferred through these veins to different parts of the plant. So that is this is how these leaves are adapted. So they have the larger surface area, leaf arrangement is to right angle towards the light, cuticle and upper epidermis, it is transparent. They have numerous stomata, the leaves are thin, chloroplast, most of the chloroplasts, they lie, they lie on the upper layer, the upper mesophyll layers. So they have the extensive vein system. So this is how leaves are adapted to perform photosynthesis. That's all with this session. Now we will meet with the next video very soon. Thank you. Have a nice day.